Right, hello and welcome to week 6 of the League of Superheroes scoreboard. Um, this is going to be our recap. Sorry for missing last week. I was very under the weather. I'm still kind of sick, but there's stuff still in my head, but whatever. It's kind of all out at this point. But we'll just start off really quickly because most of the video I want to be breaking down playoff um, the playoff scenarios, which is a little more difficult this year because the projected playoff bracket is not correct as of right now, uh, because the sixth team that makes the playoffs is based on points, not a record, which you guys probably know by now. Um, so let's just get this out of the way. My team is absolutely horrendous now. There's no way, no way to avoid saying that. I mean, I could have started Trubisky or Goodwin this week, or no, I could have started both of them and I would have won. Um, there's no way I was going to start Goodwin. Um, just C.J. Beathard is a quarterback. He hasn't done anything at all during the year. I probably wouldn't even start him this week. I think that was just a crazy anomaly. Um, Trubisky, there's definitely a chance I could have started him in Miami over Derek Carr against Seattle. I just didn't trust Trubisky on the road. And to be honest with you, Trubisky didn't really play that well uh, in real life. I mean, obviously he had a really good game fantasy wise, but watching that game, he really didn't play as well as he should have. AK with a huge week, not only because he scored 120 points and won, but he also won on the bye weeks of both Kamara and Breeze. That's absolutely huge because, people said that was his whole team, and he still dropped 120 without those two players. Um, Peyton Barber comes back and only has his only good game against me. That's basically how my year's been going because I used to have him and I traded him to AK. And he has his one good game of the year against my team. So that's how my year has been going in this league. I've had other success in other leagues, but um, not this one. Not this one ever either. Never in this history. I mean, 3 years I've been in this league, I've not had any breaks go my way. But he had a really good week. 120 points. So that was two. Maybe you can consider two of his best players. So very good win for AK. He goes to 4-2. Next game. This was supposed to be a really good game. This was two of the best teams in the league. And Hassan, I think, was going into this week as the leading scorer, and he dropped 70, which is not a lot. I think he would have beaten me only by 0.7. George didn't score that much at all, but he's had very fortunate luck this year, which is completely fine. There's some years that goes your way and some years it doesn't. But he scores 98 points and wins. Let's see. I mean, if Ryan, if Hassan started Ryan, he would have obviously had a better chance. He still would have won. He could have done that and started Breda in one of the running back spots. That still wouldn't be enough. So I mean, it just looked like a down week for him. The Bears' defense against Miami should have been solid, at least 10 points at the very least, because they were starting Brock Osweiler. That game was completely weird, and it's sometimes it happens. Antonio Brown and Green had solid days, but other than that, it was just very poor all around for Hassan. George was led by Latavius Murray. Great pickup by him. He had very good bench performances as well. And his running backs didn't do too much. Stephon Diggs had an off day. But Jameis, very good start by him, picking up Jameis against Atlanta. That was a hot start this week. He benched David Johnson. And it seemed like a decent move against the tough Minnesota run defense. But he actually scored more points than these two. but he does have options. He has a very decent bench that he can play the matchups well. So that's that game. This game, Mo and JD. Mo goes to 3-3. JD falls to 3-3. Um, Mo had a very good week, 125. That's a very solid week. Tree Cohen, Corey Clement, very good starts by him. Alshon Jeffrey has come back and played really well. He's doing this without Devonta Freeman, which was one of his top picks, and essentially without Odell Beckham, because he really hasn't done much. I know he's the 15th ranked receiver, but it's not what you expect for taking him so high. He's definitely a first round pick in all leagues, and he's just not have lived up to expectations this year for many different reasons. And Tyler Boyd has been one of the top pickups this year. He's really had some very good performances, very consistent. Other than Miami, he's really been pretty solid all around, because most people didn't have him on their team after the Colts, so I don't really count that. But yeah, he's been very consistent and should have another good week against Kansas City as well. JD 106. He had Aaron Rodgers look phenomenal again. Alfred Morris just didn't play. He played one snap. That's what it says. I don't understand that. Essentially, he still couldn't have done anything. Even if he put in Duke Johnson, he still would have lost by at least 8 or 9. Julio just keeps putting up points even though he doesn't score touchdowns. He's the 8th ranked wide receiver, which is still not what you expect, but he hasn't been as a disappointment as Odell. Julio is just bad luck. He just doesn't get touchdowns anymore. But he's so good to the point that he doesn't score any touchdowns, but he's still relevant in fantasy, and he's still a top 8 receiver without scoring a touchdown. I think that's pretty impressive. So JD's problems are running backs, which is a problem with everybody, it seems like, including myself. We have SN and Gunn. So Gunn, I'm just looking at this bye week thing. Oh, okay, because he was dropped after that game. That's why it's his bye. SN goes to 3-3. Gunn, unfortunately, goes to 1-5. SN did this without basically a Nunwa for the entire game. Nunwa caught one pass. I was watching the game. Caught one pass for like 9 yards, then fumbled, and then got hurt. So that was essentially his game, and he got minus 0.6 because of that. But as SN has a decent bench, he'll be able to replace him with Galladay, obviously. So that'll be good for him. Andrew Luck didn't play that well against the Jets, but he put up a lot of garbage time points, which was good for SN. Elliott, Connor is just beasting it without Bell. It makes you wonder why anyone would pay Le'Veon Bell the money that he wants, or not anyone, that the Steelers would pay him the money that he wants. Connor is going to be the starting running back next year for sure, and it's going to be interesting to see what Bell does when he comes back. I don't know about that situation at all. Juju looked really good. He's been pretty consistent this entire year. I mean, he's had one dud. I guess he consider week 5 consider that a dud as well, even though it's still points. But he's been pretty consistent. The 11th ranked wide receiver, very good for him. Gunn, he's just had problems. I mean, Dalvin Cook just has really just screwed over Gunn a lot. I mean, I think they said Cook was going to play, and then he just not playing at all. Carrion was on a bye for him, which stinks. I don't even know if he would have had a backup. I mean, Crowell, and that would have made a 6 points difference, but still would have, made him win. Basically, the biggest disappointment for him was probably the Jaguars' defense, because you were thinking at least you get 10 points out of the Jags' defense. Even though they haven't really, looking at this, they haven't really played that well. fantasy wise. But you would think against the terrible Cowboys offense, you'd think they'll at least put up 10 points, and that would have at least made him tie versus a sense. So I don't know. I thought that was a little bit more disappointment. Combine if we knew Cook was out, and then you put Crowell and hopefully the Jags defense did something, then he would have won. But that's not what happened, and SN goes to 3-3. This is our best game of the week. It stinks for Bill. He would have won versus anybody else in the league this week with 130, but he lost because he played against Kaleem. That's kind of how Bill's season's been going, because I don't think he has a bad team at all. Let's see. I mean, Kaleem has weeks like this, especially if you have Saquon and Carson Wentz on your team. Especially Saquon. It's just been unbelievable what he's done. He's not had one game under 17 points, 17.8, and he's still considered the third-ranked running back, which is insane to me. That's how good Gurley has been, and I'm assuming the second would be Kamara. So he's just solid all around. Like Mixon, Keenan Allen finally did something other than the first week. And Njoku was a good start. Baker has been throwing to him a lot. Ravens defense, very solid as well. Bill had also a very good week with Tyreek Hill. Hopkins had a pretty decent game. Chester Rogers, a very interesting start by him, and put up very decent, solid points. Texans defense against Buffalo, that was just a lock for at least 10. Shoney Michel has really come alive in the last 3 or 4 weeks since that Detroit start, since he basically came back from injury. It just stinks that for him that Deshaun Watson was basically horrendous against Buffalo, which is very surprising. If he got anything out of Deshaun Watson, he probably would have won this game. But unfortunately for him, he lost because that stinks. That's just bad luck. Actually, no, he would have lost to Yates as well. Sorry, because Yates scored 141. Yates' team's looking solid as well. Fawad finally drops the game. He's no longer undefeated. Gurley, Coleman, pretty solid for him, and Brady, but everything else kind of pedestrian. Cup got injured, which kind of hurt him. Looking at Yates' team, Melvin Gordon has been awesome this year. He's actually the second-ranked running back, because Kamara had a bye, so that makes sense. Melvin Gordon's been so consistent as well. Very good draft pick by him. McCaffrey, this is what happened. McCaffrey putting up a big game either. Mahomes 27, Sanders, Edelman. He's just got options all around. 18 points from your kicker also does help. But he goes to 4-2. This was also a pretty good game as well. All right, so let's look at the standings really quickly. Let's go over the playoff scenarios. So essentially, I looked at this before. Your 5 playoff teams based on record is George and Fawad at 5-1. And you also got Yates, Hassan, and AK at 4-2. Those are your 5. And then the 6th playoff team, based off of points, is a difference. It's not the highest 3-3 team. Actually, it looks like, if my math is correct, I mean, you guys can correct me, but I'm pretty sure that it's actually Kaleem who actually would have that last playoff spot because he has 681 and has the most points by anyone that is not in a playoff spot already based off of record. Because just looking at it very quickly, Yates is leading the league in scoring, followed by Fawad, then AK, then Hassan, and then the next team would be Kaleem. So he is at 681. Looking at this really quickly again to make sure I didn't mess up. No, he would be in the playoffs based off of record. Now let's just look at the projected playoff brackets just to see how much that differs from what it normally would be. And as of right now, it would have been SN who would have the sixth playoff spot based off of record and points. Because I'm assuming that means he is the best 3-3 team by record. Let's go back to the standings. Just a couple of funny things to point out. Bill, who is at 1-5. Let me look at this again. Bill, who is at 1-5, is actually the highest scoring team in this division, and he's outscoring George, who's 5-1, by quick math here. I think 70 points. That's fantasy football for you. This is one of the craziest things I've seen. Bill, the defending champ, has put up 668, and George 598, and Bill is 1-5, and George is 5-1. That's unbelievable. um, and I guess it's hard to look at the race for the sixth spot based off points, but Bill is right there. He's literally 13 points away from Cleveland. So this sixth spot's going to fluctuate from week to week. Um, I mean, even my team has a chance because I'm only, uh, you know, 20 something points out of it as well. So the sixth spot's definitely going to fluctuate a ton. Um, but yeah, this is what we're looking at as of right now. We still have more than half the season left to go in the regular season. A lot of things are going to change, but that's kind of how we stand right now, and we'll see how this still plays out. All right, so hope everyone has a good week. This was fun to look at, and we'll be back at it again next week, hopefully, uh, without any sickness. Hopefully next time. All right, so everyone have a great week.